Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. This is my first ever mapping video, so to start off, we're gonna be looking at a hypothetical Venezuelan civil war scenario. And like I said before, this is my first ever mapping video. So if I get anything wrong, it's not really my fault. It's just that I don't have experience in mapping. So basically, with all the inflation, the Venezuelan government is starting to collapse. First off, we have the Socialist Party of Venezuela over here in the west. And Brazil moved in to take some territories for themselves, which was very selfish. Whoops. After fixing that issue, just do that. And then something else happens. Because Israel had just heard about the Venezuelan Civil War. And so they sent people to try and get some land out of it. That way Jewish people still had a place to stay even if Israel fell. They ended up making it. They then landed and proclaimed the state of New Jerusalem. Meanwhile, over on the communist front, the Battle of the Capital, Caracas, somewhere around here, I think, had just started. This would give New Jerusalem time to secure land and build defensive lines. Eventually, after a counteroffensive near the province which Brazil took, the Colombian government's soldiers had decided to try and stop them. However, this would be a very bad decision to do, as this would lead to the communists capturing the capital. Eventually, the communists reached the border with New Jerusalem. Eventually, the defense walls were rebuilt to to just... The defense walls were rebuilt to the new borders of New Jerusalem. The communists tried attacking the defense wall, but it was very much organized. And with help from the United States, New Jerusalem successfully managed to defend themselves. And eventually, a peace treaty was signed. And basically, for the treaty, New Jerusalem would gain its independence, Brazil would annex the lands it occupied, and the rest of Venezuela would be put under the communist government. However, just getting out of the Civil War had a cost. Colombia demanded territories from the communist government, and since their army was weakened, Venezuela had no choice but to accept. However, with China hearing about the communist government, they decided to attempt to send aid to the People's Republic of Venezuela. They sailed across the Pacific, and they went through the canal they built to rival the Panama Canal. However, since the United States was suspicious of the People's Republic of Venezuela, them, with the help of Colombia and New Jerusalem, set up a naval blockade. Eventually, communist rebellions in this area were revolting to join Venezuela again, but they weren't part of Venezuela before. They somehow managed to declare independence, don't ask why. And eventually they managed to join Venezuela once again. Meanwhile, in New Jerusalem, the country was flooding with people from Israel looking for a place to stay without being threatened. However, the fight still continued. But, disclaimer, this might get unrealistic from here on out until another point in the video. So yeah. And with the conflict still going and the UN failing to resolve it, their last option was to occupy the whole area. And so they landed in Tel Aviv and started the occupation. Nobody knew what was going on. But eventually, the UN had occupied Israel and Palestine. Both of them. And believe it or not, I actually thought of an idea that could possibly solve the war. It was for the UN to occupy Palestine and Israel, but that just sounds unrealistic. Like, why would the UN do that? We're just gonna keep the UN base in Jerusalem occupied in that. Eventually, the People's Republic of Venezuela was building up its army with the air supply from China. And eventually, they were ready to reunite Venezuela. They declared war on New Jerusalem. It's the wrong color. They tried to break the defense line, but it was too strong. And even if they did break it, New Jerusalem had a second defense line and American reinforcements coming in. And this will be the color of the supporters of New Jerusalem. Yeah, this part gets pretty boring. But I'm pretty sure we're out of the unrealistic areas now. Let's see. Can't find it. And this will be the color of countries that support the People's Republic of Venezuela. And with China supporting the PRV, so will North Korea. But since the United States supports New Jerusalem, you can expect some others to support New Jerusalem too. And obviously Ireland recognizes Palestine, but I don't think they would support communists, so they're just going to remain neutral in this situation. Eventually, Chinese troops just now paradrop into the People's Republic of Venezuela. Around this area. And eventually, with Chinese reinforcements having arrived without the American reinforcements arriving yet, the defense line was somewhat broken. However, they had already reached the second defense line, and they had finally been stopped, allowing the American reinforcements, along with the other reinforcements, to arrive and paradrop near this area. The reinforcements had arrived at the front, and now they were ready to push the People's Republic of Venezuela back. The reinforcements would quickly outnumber the amount of reserve personnel for the People's Republic of Venezuela. With the offensive into the People's Republic of Venezuela, the troops occupying the land in New Jerusalem had to retreat to defend their mainland. eventually, all the units for the People's Republic of Venezuela had been sent to the front. But New Jerusalem managed to find out and told their allies about it. In return, the United States did a few bombing raids over the areas where the troops were at, thus weakening the reinforcements to the front. Colombia would join in to occupy their old lands back. Eventually, a landing was made in this area after capturing of that island up here. This distracted the People's Republic of Venezuela troops, leading for a faster push into the country. And while they didn't arrive, the landing could expand. Eventually, by the time the enemy troops arrived, they had a defensive line, managing to nearly hold them off. But they ended up getting pushed back. However, it was fine getting pushed back, since New Jerusalem had almost captured Caracas. Eventually, the city was encircled. Pretty sure it's somewhere around there. Leading to landing, regaining some territories the Venezuelans took back. Eventually, with the fall of Caracas and the grand push into Venezuela, they had surrendered. So now it's time for the treaty. First off, New Jerusalem would get all of this. The United States would turn that into a military base, like a military island, and annex it. the old Democratic government would be reinstated. And just like that, the war had now ended. By the way, me and Joey are gonna make an obby together. If you don't know who Joey is, he's my best friend, and he has his own YouTube channel, the MTF Guard. So me and him are gonna make an obby together, and maybe we might record a video. And by the way, the old Democratic government would not support Russia or China and stuff. They would then be supporting the US sphere of influence. However, the Democratic government is still unstable. So that's my idea for a hypothetical Venezuelan civil war. But just to be clear, I am not copying WildMapper's design of videos. I'm not copying WildMapper's videos. I am not copying. All I am doing is simply making my first mapping video. It's just a coincidence that I used the map he uses in his videos. But I'm not sure if WildMapper is a boy or a girl. So if I misgendered you, Wallmapper, I'm sorry. But that's gonna be it for today's video. I'm gonna be checking on the community posts now. But other than that, I'll see you all in the next one.